After using the iPhone 15 Pro Max for over 6 months, was the expensive price tag worth it? To figure that out, we need to investigate how these 5 things have been impacted over the last 6 months, which include design, performance and battery life, cameras, software features, and value for money. And as a bonus, at the end of the video, I'll share my future expectations of iPhone in the next 5 to 10 years, and you'll be surprised by what I have to say. But first, let's start with investigating how the design and build quality have held up in these last 6 months. For the most part, we've been used to familiar designs with iPhones for years, so listen closely when I tell you the inclusion of the action button and titanium are worthwhile additions to this design. Starting with the action button, if you're not caught up, it sits above the volume keys, and within the settings app, you're able to make it do whatever you want. I found that assigning the camera feature to this button has been invaluable. I can't count how many times I frantically want to capture something before the moment slips away, and the action button has assisted in helping me miss less of those moments in my life. As for the titanium, it's been great. If you are like me and you don't like heavy phones, but you do want a large phone, the titanium around the corners of this iPhone do make a noticeable difference in how much lighter it feels. And if you want my opinion on the best color, I still think natural titanium is the way to go, but I did test a blue iPhone 15 Pro 6 months ago, and that color was a very close second in my books. In terms of durability as a whole with this iPhone, I've been shocked. I haven't been good at not dropping my phone over the last while. I consistently keep dropping it face first, edge first, you name it, without a case on, and it has no cracks or visible damage on the front or back of the phone, including on the new titanium, where it looks flawless. The only noticeable wear on my phone is actually on the top corner of my display. It's not quite as scratch resistant as I would have liked, so it's pretty clear though, overall, that the iPhone 15 Pro Max is tough and useful on the outside, but how has the performance internally held up over the last 6 months? Apple added a new A17 Pro chip, and this new iPhone has felt very fluid and fast because of it, but that's not new. Like, all iPhones have always felt this way for the last 5 years, maybe even longer, and I'd bet a lot of you wouldn't really notice a significant performance difference unless your iPhone is quite old. Some of those same pains are still around that are classic iPhone, where if the phone gets too hot, for example, in the sun, the screen brightness dims, which I always only ever experience on my iPhone. For some reason, this hasn't happened once on my Samsung yet. As for battery life, it's been quite controversial in the community, as some people have had some very serious issues, and I've had friends with a smaller iPhone 15 Pro where they feel the iPhone dies way too fast for their liking. I can't speak to these experiences, as my battery life on my 15 Pro Max has been really good. I never felt like my phone can't get through an entire day, and it always makes it to my charger at night with the juice left in the tank. So we've covered how great the iPhone runs internally, but how has it held up when capturing moments in my life? You're going to love the stuff I'm about to show you. Let's take a closer look at the cameras. But before we get to the exciting part, I want to thank MOFT for partnering with me on this video and sending over their game-changing creator kit for the iPhone, which comes in this beautiful eco-friendly box that is reusable. More on that later. First up though, we get this white snap phone case made from Movas vegan leather. I've been rocking this actually on my 15 Pro Max since September of last year, and it's been super clean and minimal since day one. It even includes a lanyard attachment for hands-free experience while traveling. Next, we also get this minimalist wallet that doubles as a phone stand. It's perfect for slimming down my everyday carry to just a few cards plus my iPhone, and it's a lifesaver for propping up my phone in various angles, whether I'm out or at home. For those with non-MagSafe phones, there's also a magnetic ring ensuring you can enjoy all of these accessories as well. But the star of the show, the Snap Phone Tripod Stand. This tiny thing has transformed how I capture moments, whether it's taking shots on the basketball court while I'm playing basketball, using my iPhone at eye level while I'm working, or snapping selfies without a friend to help me out. Its origami design unfolds beautifully, offering endless possibilities, including a versatile vlogging mode. Circling back to the box, it's not just packaging, it's a neat way to store my MOFT accessories and other gadgets, making it really perfect for travel. All products shared today are made from sustainable materials, blending perfectly into my daily routine. So if you guys are interested, check the links down below. Trust me, you will not regret picking up any of these accessories. Thank you, MOFT, for partnering with me on today's video. Okay, so by far my favorite thing about the new iPhone is its camera system. In my opinion, as a whole, it's the best damn system on the planet that you can buy. And I know by saying that, I'm gonna be stepping on some toes and people in Android world, and more particularly people who are very fond of the Samsung S24 Ultra cameras. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Samsung. I love what's going on over there, but it's not quite as perfect as when you look at the whole picture when it comes to the camera system. For example, the iPhone has true professional video features that allow you to shoot in ProRes RAW and turn that footage into looking like a professional cinema grade camera like the ones I use to film the videos that you watch. This changes everything for creators like me. It literally makes the iPhone a reliable B camera for certain situations, and that's not something I would ever say in the past for any smartphone, as all smartphones have generally had that smartphone camera video look. If you know, you know. But with the new ProRes RAW feature, it's really starting to allow us creators to blur those lines even more. Jumping back to still photos, I've always said this, and it's the fact that I feel I've taken some of my best photos ever on iPhone, and the 15 Pro Max continues that legacy. It's consistent. I never feel like the iPhone is gonna get me a bad shot. I love the fact that portrait mode is baked into the standard shot now as well, where if you take a photo and you see the F icon, it will save that depth information so you can add the portrait depth effect after the fact, so you don't have to debate on what mode you want to shoot your photos in. The only drawback to this is that it doesn't work in Pro RAW, which is how I shoot 99% of my photos, so I don't make much use of this feature. Another drawback, I really wish Apple would add in built-in pro controls for the camera in the native app to let pros like me control ISO, shutter speed, white balance in photo and video mode. Yes, I'm aware you can buy an app or you can, download something off the App Store, but I would really love to get Apple's take on that because I think they do a really good job. And Samsung, on the other hand, has been doing this on their phones for quite a long time now, and it's actually one of my favorite things about their camera system. Anyway, interesting thing that I did the other day is that I actually prompted myself when I asked, what was the most underrated yet useful and most impressive feature about the cameras this year? And I thought, and there was literally no better answer to this question than action mode. I think it is so underutilized, and I think if you just take a look at these shots that I get here, you're probably gonna start using it more because you can see how stable and fluid and dynamic the video is, especially when you leverage action mode with the telephoto lens. It's one of the most magical things that the iPhone does, and that's the highest compliment that I can honestly give a camera system. So we've seen what the cameras can do, but what about the software? Has anything stood out to me over the last 6 months? Yes, so there are things that stood out, but they're not entirely new features. They've been around since the 14 Pro days, but for a lot of you thinking about upgrading to this phone, you most likely didn't even buy a 14 Pro, so Dynamic Island and the Always On display will be very new to you, and it's been great. Let me explain all of it now. Starting with the Always On display, it's a new feature where your phone display turns off, but not completely off. You can see your personalized wallpaper, clock, widgets. It was a fresh take on having your display turned off that even Android didn't do until recently, and I've loved it for the last 2 years. It proves to be useful with live activities such as seeing the status of your Uber Eats order while the display is turned off, or if you have a charging stand, you get access to use standby mode, which adds a variety of different clocks and looks for your iPhone while it sits pretty on a stand. And as a side note, it acts as a great quick identifier if your whole friend group has iPhones. You can more quickly know which one is yours based on the wallpaper. As for Dynamic Island, it's a little pill-shaped icon that animates to display content running in the background, like timers and music controls, when someone calls you, Face ID unlocks, literally a whole bunch of stuff. It's honestly really cool, and after using it for about 2 years, I don't think I would want an iPhone without this feature, as it has made navigating background activities a lot nicer, and it's just cool to see this thing animate over and over again. Okay, so we've discussed design, performance, cameras, software features, and now we're left with the topic that ties all of this together and gives us our answer if the iPhone 15 Pro Max is worth the money, and that's value. To analyze that question, we have to start with the price, and the 15 Pro Max starts at $11.99 USD, and even more in other countries, like in Canada where I'm from. I actually had to pay $1,749 Canadian before tax to get this phone. So it's a wildly expensive phone, at least in Canada and I'm sure around the world. So when I'm asked if the new iPhone is worth the investment, I would say probably not. When you think about what most people use their phones for, which is to communicate with friends, social media, web browsing, the iPhone 15, the iPhone 14, iPhone 13, iPhone SE, all of that stuff does this really well. And Apple still gladly sells them on their site if you'd prefer to save money and buy those instead. It always comes down to how much do you want the new shiny thing. If you really want it, then yeah, this phone is amazing. I can highly recommend it. It's the best iPhone Apple has ever made. But what about people who want the new shiny thing, but also want to feel surprised and experience something so brand new and groundbreaking? No, that doesn't exist with this iPhone. And honestly, it hasn't really existed in smartphones in general for a really long time, unless you looked into the Android world of things, like their folding devices or something like that. The sentiment I always get from friends who casually buy new iPhones all the time is, yeah, I really like it, but I'm having trouble seeing the difference. That's the classic line I've heard for years, unless you're a tech enthusiast, an iPhone fanboy, or just a creator like me whose job is to spot the differences and make big deals out of them in videos. And as we keep talking about this leads very nicely into my thoughts about the future of iPhone and what I hope for from Apple. And to put it bluntly, I honestly don't know. There's a very small list of things that I was able to come up with that the iPhone doesn't do well, such as having the ultra-wide camera be improved to be as high resolution and clear as the standard lens, as the difference in quality is still quite striking, and it's even more noticeable in night mode, where the quality difference is just so high to the point that I never use the ultra-wide camera at night. Or if the iPhone can just stop overheating in the sun, as that's something that just happens to me all the time. I don't know if that happens to you guys, and then my screen just dims out, and it's just the most annoying thing. But besides that, I don't know. Maybe that's why we're seeing Vision Pro now, and advancements in AI coming soon with Siri hopefully at WWDC, because I think those things are going to get people excited again about buying new communication devices. I didn't say iPhones. I said communication devices, as there's always a possibility that Apple or some other company reinvents what communication looks like. And maybe it's not in this form factor of an iPhone or a generic smartphone anymore, and it's something entirely new. Who knows? Only time will tell. But thanks for watching. If you guys want to hear more of my thoughts on the 15 Pro Max, you can click right here to watch my day in the life video right now.